Improving the education of kids is not just about academics. In the city of Rochester, it's also about issues of equity, cultural competency, poverty, communication, and parental engagement. I have met, talked with, and interviewed Rochester City School students with big dreams of not only excelling, but also making a positive imprint on their community. So what ideas exist to help more students with similar stories? And how does that happen in a district that maintains low academic standing and graduation rates, along with many other challenges? Here to help answer that question and address those issues are some of the new faces running in the Democratic primary for Rochester City School Board. Currently, 3 seats are up for grabs, with 6 candidates vying for them, including 2 incumbents. Joining me today out of the new faces in the race are Beatrice LeBron, community health worker for Rochester Regional Health; Natalie Shepard, a therapeutic foster care coordinator at Hillside Family of Agencies and adjunct professor at Roberts Wesleyan; and Cecilia Golden, executive director of education at Hillside Family of Agencies. The 4th new face in this race, Sabrina Lamar, was also invited to join us, but was not able to participate. So to you who are here, I appreciate it and welcome.
Thank you.
Some of our viewers there are meeting some or all of you for the very first time while watching the program. So that being said, I want to give you a brief moment, and I mean brief, 30 seconds or less, to explain why you're running, why school board, and why should people vote for you? Beatrice, I'll start with you.
30 seconds, we'll start now. So I'm a parent in the district, and I do think, and I've also worked in the district as a long-term sub, and so it was that experience that kind of allowed me to see what was really happening in the school from an inside perspective rather than an outside perspective. And I think there's a lot of issues that the school district needs to address, but poverty has to be one of them. And for me, that's my main focus in my platform, is addressing families who are living in poverty and having strategic plans for them and community partners to address poverty.
Natalie.
So I believe that we need stronger advocates in our leadership roles. I think that we need leaders who really believe in building direct relationships with our students so that they're empowered and engaged. We need stronger leaders that feel like they have an obligation to provide absolutely every single thing that a teacher needs to support our students in the classroom so that they can be successful. I think we need leaders that view caregivers and parents as partners, because realistically, we share the responsibility of making sure that our youth are thriving and that they become productive citizens. And lastly, I do think that we need stronger leaders who feel like community partnering should be at the top of the list in regards to resources that we use in our school district. So I'm running because I'm committed to all of those things.
And Cecilia.
I'm running because I'm an educator. I have a history with the Rochester City School District, having served as a teacher, principal, and then chief academic officer, bilingual reading teacher as well. So when I came back to Rochester over 4 years ago, I left in 2001, came back over 4 years ago. This is my home, and I was very troubled to see the academic outcomes for our young people, reading being one of them. And I believe that I know how to help fix that. That's primarily why I'm running, because I believe an educator needs to be on the board. Someone who understands the district, who knows what questions to ask, who knows how to support and coach the superintendent, and how to engage families. Years ago, I was very successful at bringing a math, science, and technology award to my school, School 39, along with others, the science director at the time, and we were able to transform that school through experiential learning and inquiry-based instruction. So I believe I know how to fix not just schools, but the entire district.
Well, about 2.5 years ago, School Board President Van White told the DNC's editorial board, this is a quote, "It would be ridiculous for me to say we've done a great job. The outcomes don't suggest that." So that comment was in relation to whether or not, at that point in time, White believed the school board was doing its job well. So I want to ask you, and I'm going to start with you, Cecilia, okay. What is one thing that the board has implemented in this past school year that you think could work, will work, or is working to better serve students?
Wow. If it was implemented this school year, then we probably don't have enough time to say whether or not it's working. You need some longitudinal data.
So what's something that you think could work?
I think saying either explicitly or implicitly they really have not worked well with the schools and have given a lion's share of the responsibility for East High School to U of R is a step in saying we need to do something differently. So whether or not that's going to work or not, I know that they have some positive outcomes, though there's, you know, it's gradual and coming. That may be something, but it's not so much that East High School is now the superintendent of the school, but I think it's saying, the board is saying we need to do something different and we need some support and help in doing it.
Beatriz, in terms of something that you think this past year that the board did not implement, something that you think that was brought to the table could have done some good in your opinion, but they didn't move on, anything come to mind for you?
Nothing really comes to mind, but I know that it's been an ongoing challenge to have parent engagement at the school district and at that level. And I do think that the board has had plenty of opportunities over the years to have a stronger plan for parent engagement, including with themselves as board members to come out into the community and engage families. I think just showing up at events when they're invited to attend is not enough, and I don't think it will ever be enough. I think we have to, as board members, I know that there's a perception that we only do policies and finance and manage the budget. I think that needs to be broken. That cycle needs to be broken.
Natalie, anything you would jump in and say, I support what they did, or something that you think was missing?
Yeah, so in regards to their restorative justice practices, I do think that those have benefited our culture in regards to our schools really wanting to engage students where they're at. I know that there are struggles and there are successes that our students can harp upon, and I think that restorative justices, if done correctly, those practices can really help empower our students and really get them focused on being in the classroom, to come in, sit down, pay attention, learn, and get through the complications that will arise. I mean, no student is going to be perfect, so I do appreciate that they've taken that step. I would like to see it grow more, and I would like to see some tweaks happen with it, because I know that there are some gaps in those services with our restorative justice practices.
And with restorative justice, we mean when things go wrong in the classroom, there might be discipline issues, how those issues and how teachers and school leaders respond to those issues. Yes. Just so for those watching who may not be familiar with that. Studies have been done by the National School Boards Association. Various researchers have looked at this, and they've looked at the relationship between superintendents and their school boards. And this is a crucial relationship for both stakeholders. But what they have found is that these strains exist. Publicly, in recent years, we've seen that with former Superintendent Jean-Claude Brizard, also former Superintendent Bohan Vargas. And I want to talk specifics. If elected, what is one thing that you would suggest to current Superintendent Barbara Dean Williams that you believe would need to be implemented to improve academic outcomes? And I don't know who would like to. Cecilia?
Well, I don't know if it's an implementation issue, but as a school board member, I would like to work with the superintendent to determine, to do an assessment of her building leadership. School principals are key to improving academic achievement. Do we have the right people in the right positions? Are they serving as instructional leaders? Do they know how to coach? Do they know how to use data to make data-informed decisions? So that would be one thing that I would work with the superintendent on, because it's so critical. If we're going to transform schools, we have to have leadership at that school-based level that really understand effectiveness in instructing students who many times have trauma-based experiences and, as was stated, are victims of poverty. So, yeah.
And I would like Barbara Dean Williams to look at different jobs and the roles that they have, like the duties they have. And so with that, I mean, we have counselors in different schools, and we may need to add additional counselors for different purposes. So if we have athletes that are going down one track, we should have counselors that can help guide them and help their families understand the process of them moving past their high school athletic career. We also need counselors that are there to help students who might have a different path, and their K through 12 education level, you know, it doesn't turn into them going to higher education, but it turns into a career. And so we need counselors that can bridge those gaps to help our students beyond the K through 12 level. I think right now we're really focused on what we can do K through 12, but we're really preparing our students for beyond that level, and we have to start thinking about that in the things that we implement.
And for me, I personally would like to, what I envision is that we have plans in place for every student in every school, and I don't think that that's going to be possible without having that relationship with the superintendent. I don't have a lot of experience with Barbara Dean Williams. She's a brand new superintendent, about a year into this. And so I think in order for the plan to be implemented, she has to also be willing to have community partnerships and relationships with those community partners. So that's kind of where my focus would be in building my relationship with her.
Well, I can't let you go without looking at some of the key issues that are really front and center in urban education in America, and we've discussed some of these issues on the past program, in particular in relation to the Rochester City School District. That's equity, poverty, something that you've brought up, race, and cultural competency. And as with among those things that I just mentioned, and Beatrice, I would imagine you would jump on poverty. I want to know, voters would want to know, what if you could pick one of those things and you've got something that you've been working on or that you would like to present to the board if elected, what would it be?
Oh.
It would be equity for me, and I would intertwine equity with cultural competence. Every school does not need the same things. So we need to allocate resources where the needs are. So when we say, I want the same thing, well, you may not need the same level of funding. You may not need the same kind of human resources, counseling, whatever it is. We need to look at it, and we have to make sure that cultural competence is pervasive in our schools. And the part of the building leadership, the teachers, how we engage parents. Engage parents in ways in which they want to be engaged, not the way you think they should be engaged.
We're running out of time, so Beatrice, I want to make sure that we...
Poverty for me, obviously, I do believe in being people-centered where families are at, and so if we have a plan in place for every single family, and you're right, it's not going to look the same for everybody. There cannot be sweeping policies that impact everyone, and we think we're going to have better outcomes. We will never have better outcomes that way. So we do have to address families individually, and the families themselves have to identify what those needs are outside in the home, what supports that student needs. And I believe that the district can align their resources to provide that.
And I would say cultural competence. For me, that means building relationships, and we have to get back to the fundamentals of how to actually build a relationship person to person. And I don't think that we can move forward with anything that we put on the table if we haven't built a relationship with the students, the families, the staff, the community. If people do not trust us, then how can we ever move any plan forward because they don't buy into what we are trying to do?
We have to close for now, but I appreciate all of you being here today and for sharing your perspectives with our viewers. The remaining candidates in the race for Rochester City School Board, incumbents Van White and Cynthia Elliott, have been invited to join me to discuss their priorities for the district if re-elected. That interview will take place here on Need to Know on Thursday, September 7th at 8 o'clock.